All right. You ready to go? Everybody?
Good morning.
Well, December 4th. I believe we have quorum present. Is that right? We do. Fantastic. First order of business, consideration of approval of the minutes from October 2nd. We have a motion.
Motion to approve.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Carries. This is a comment period. Lauren, do we know if we have anyone present?
No.
In case we won't have comment period. Staff reports and presentations. Troy, should we turn it over to you?
Yeah. Very quickly before we get started on presentations. So this is Jenna. I think some of you newer board members didn't get to meet her last week, but we have Henry. Oh, you've met Henry and Spencer?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, at the previous meeting. Okay. And then Devin is with our, tell us your title. Pre-treatment coordinator. Yeah. Okay. And so you'll hear a little bit more from him and more shortly. But okay, good. Glad you met everyone. So the very first one is the Heroes Memorial Park restaurant pad site that we released. So you kind of look back on page number 4. You on the 4th page, you'll see this is an RFP we released earlier in October, and this is for the first one is the Lake Park District, I think. Yeah, let's talk about this one first. This is one we also released last month, and this is for a hotel and convention center site that is located just to the north of us here. So it's in between the Public Safety Center and HEB. There is 100 acres there. It's a 100-acre project. 40 acres of it was purchased by St. David's, and then the remaining 60 acres is slated for mixed-use development that will include a hotel and convention center. If you kind of look a couple of pages back, you'll kind of see renderings of the district. And on the page 12, I guess, of the RFP, when you just kind of flip through the pages, you can see the site plan you have right there, Spencer. So, and so this is HEB that you see off to the kind of bottom left-hand corner. And then the Amazon building is what you see on the right-hand side. And then our Public Safety Center where we sit is up on the top right-hand corner. So this is property. This is 4 acres that was dedicated to the city from the landowner for economic development use and for us to attract a hotel developer to help partner with us to build this hotel and convention center. We were originally going to close the RFP at the end of December, but just from suggestions from a lot of different people in the industry said the holidays are kind of a hard time for people, a lot of people taking vacations. So we extended it out to January, the end of January, the 29th. I held a pre-conference meeting, a pre-bid conference meeting on Monday, and we had over a dozen developers on the call. So we've had a lot of interest. So I can't wait to see the proposals, and I'm sure we'll share some of those with you when they come through and get the board's feedback as well and have everyone weigh in. So that's one RFP that we released. And then the second one, if you keep scrolling back, you'll see the request for proposals for the restaurant site that is located just adjacent to Heroes Memorial Park. So this is also property that was donated by the landowner, by the developer, to the city, and it was always reserved for a restaurant site. The way that the site is situated, it overlooks the park. So we're anticipating and looking for a restaurant that would have an outdoor patio that would overlook the park. It's beautiful. And then, so this is also just to the north of this site, immediately adjacent is where Sprouts broke ground last month as well. So there will be a lot of activity there. And in addition to Sprouts, there will also be 18,000 square feet of retail space in that area. So you will soon see quite a bit of activity. This RFP, we've received a couple of questions on it. Even up to yesterday, I had another broker call me and said he has somebody interested. I haven't seen as much activity around this one as I have the hotel and convention center site, but we can be patient on this one. We also extended the timeline to mid-January for this RFP to close. And I suspect if we don't get what we're looking for and the proposals we're looking for, we will regroup, possibly figure out a way to extend our reach and keep it open until we find the right restaurant that we're looking for this site. Anyone have any questions on the RFPs? Okay. Yeah. Let me see here. Oh, okay. And then the next item of business is the date of the next meeting. So the first Wednesday of January is on New Year's Day. So does anyone, I don't think anyone wants to be here that day, but is anyone opposed to moving it to the second Wednesday? I know, Julie, that's your business over breakfast. Does everyone's calendars look okay for, Susan, do you know the
8th?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So if no one objects to that time, we'll move it to the 8th at 8 a.m. Okay. Very well. And let's look at the sales tax report. So if you look back past the proposals, you will see our sales tax report. So compared to our budget projections, we are still down 4% for last month, for November. But if you compare it to last year over year, it's an increase of 7%. So I hope to see that even out, especially as the holidays come online. And then we know that we have Builders First Source that'll be coming online soon. They're a big sales tax paying entity in the city for us. So we expect this to even out in the next, half a year or so. We'll be back on track with projections. So no real concern there.
Victoria, do you know what budget was agreed upon as a percent for last year?
I do not. I can ask our finance department. Let me just make a note. Okay. Any other questions on the sales tax? Okay, and that's it for my updates. And then now we can go around the room if anyone has any updates. Eddie, do you have any?
Just wanted to inspire a quick dialogue, if we could, about some of the topics we had at our last meeting. With the work that the city is doing residentially to conserve water and manage wastewater, apparent there isn't a program in place yet on the commercial side. And I think this is a topic that we could potentially take up as a board and work in partnership with different departments, staff included, where we might be able to propose a pilot program for council's consideration. I know they haven't asked us to do that, but it would be interesting to kind of check a temperature with council and see if they might be interested in having us explore what a program could look like commercially. And I think there's really two opportunities. One is new construction, which is the easiest place to start. And it could potentially be a zero-sum game where instead of asking the city to allocate a budget toward helping with incentives specific to water management, if we could work with council to perhaps prioritize some of those proposals for incentives that have plans to deal with collecting rainwater or drought tolerance, certainly, but even xeriscaping in a commercial environment. I know these topics can be controversial with certain elements of our community, but on the commercial side, I'm hoping we face perhaps less of that than we would on the residential side. So there might be a zero budget way to make progress against this just by favoring incentive proposals that come in. And that, I don't know that that would take any official action by the board other than, or council, other than to acknowledge it. Dive into that if people think it's worthwhile. The other program that would be more onerous would be retrofit of existing businesses. So would the city see it in their interest to help provide incentives for companies to retrofit to whatever standards wind up in the proposal? That would, of course, be a budget item. So the city would have to be willing to say, okay, we'll essentially spend less buying water if we can do X. Eliminate irrigation for new commercial property, retrofit a bunch of them, et cetera, et cetera. So really it's money spent on buying water from local communities or money spent on making us use less water. So I feel like there's a reasonable conversation to be had here, but this is one where it'll take our group effort to put something together for council's consideration. So I don't want to proceed if the board doesn't feel that this is a viable work stream that we feel good about. I don't want to waste anyone's time. So, you know, I would love to just open up for discussion this topic to see if we're going to put additional items on future agendas. So I would love to just open up the floor and have people comment.
I know Susan checked in with Kathy, so I also wanted to make sure that after she came in last month and gave the presentation that we didn't let that conversation fall off. So her update was, can you give the update?
That she definitely would keep working on it and would get back with me in the new year. So.
Yeah, so I think, Eddie, it's not too far fetched to want to continue the conversation, especially because there was already support around doing this for residential properties. You almost just mirror the same policy for commercial properties. The budget might increase just a little if we go back and retrofit some of existing businesses, but it's a good time to think about it now so that if there is a possibility for a grant funding or some sort of reimbursement, then we can put it into the budget for next year. And those, we always start talking about our budgets sometime in March, so that's a perfect timing. I think what we can do is go back to Kathy and get the residential policy from her and see how we can look at it from the eyes of commercial development. It might be something that council would really appreciate us taking the lead on that.
And I'm curious on the data side. So like, what are the 10 biggest commercial industries that use the most water in Kyle? And can we even just talk to them and say, hey, what is, what's driving your water consumption?
And we talked about this before the meeting.
The top three are the correctional facility and an apartment complex, I forget the name of, and House Cove.
Osco Rags.
I have the actual list.
Lending company. They wash the water.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
Victoria, for the RFP for the hotel, are we prioritizing, what if we had dialogue with developers on efficient water use plans? And
I think that's written in
that's
here.
the one that we need to intercept, because hotels use a ton of water.
I'm gonna make a note of that. One thing, if I can just touch on that, both of the RFPs are a two-part process. So the very first one is, this is phase one that was, part one that was released. So this is just to get, it's almost like a request for interest, and then we'll review it. And then those qualified applicants will then move on to phase two which is where we'll have more in-depth conversations about their infrastructure, their, the structure of the deal, and of course, utilities, water. Yeah, I think there's something in here that says must be LEED certified, that sort of thing.
And I know like 20% of the scoring was in alignment with city's goals and objectives. And if that's one of those stated goals and objectives, that's 20% of their RFP scoring.
Okay, so I'll make note of that.
Water
Oh,
topic.
the top water users, yeah.
Water topic. Not acknowledge, hey, this is not just an afterthought. We know that Kyle is water challenged, and we're going to be the best hotel for this because somebody said the Facebook warriors are out, and yeah, it's a talking point in the community when they see new businesses go in. We're under stage 3 for over a year. It's like, well, there goes all of our water.
Right.
I'd like to get in front of that
Okay, that's a
with
good,
the developer.
yeah.
And of course, to line up, Eddie, with what you're going for is that if we're proposing whatever the solution is, I want to make sure that's fitting in with what is actually the driver of the loss here. And if the number one is the correction facility, I'm sure it's not landscaping is the reason why they're using that much water. And so that type of incentive program wouldn't actually address whatever the problem is. But I want to figure out what are those drivers of the water consumption, and can we design whatever that incentive program is
Right.
to actually address the problem.
Well, I think there's two issues in the correction facility. Water management side in terms of rainwater collection. What they do have is a lot of roof space.
Sure.
So as we're taking a look at, yes, we want to use less water, and I think you're right, there's not a lot of irrigation budget, I would imagine, in the correction facility. But I do think they have substantial ability to capture water if we had a plan for how to do that, what to do with the water. So I think they could be part of the solution, even though there's no getting around their water usage is necessitated by their population.
Sure.
Same with an apartment complex. I don't know how much we're going to cut the water, but if apartment complexes could be encouraged to collect rainwater for irrigation, apartment complexes do have more substantial irrigation. So I think there are ways to make progress, whether it be in the bucket of let's manage rainwater, and then let's use less water. So I think there's different avenues to go based on the nature of the project that we're discussing. But I think, to me, there's an easy win here if council has the stomach for it, which is just whenever anyone applies for incentives, how do we make sure how they're managing water is scored? And that's a priority. So that doesn't cost anybody anything.
Right.
Developers will tell you it will cost that money, which is correct. But again, I think there's an easy win there that's not a budget item. The budget item will be the much harder one to get over the top. And I think I anticipate some community pushback on, we don't want to look like Arizona. And I understand that. This is Texas, not Arizona. However, if we don't change our ways, we're going to look like Arizona in ways we don't like. It's a very insecure water source for their population. So I think moving more toward xeriscaping, stepping far beyond drought tolerant and native is a conversation that will have some objections by a certain percentage of the population, of course, council. But I think it's the right mature conversation to have. And if a community decides this is not something that we want aesthetically, we're just not okay with it, well, so be it. But I think we should raise this conversation to that level and let the elected officials and the people they represent voice their concerns, their wishes. But I feel like the time is appropriate for this kind of conversation. But again, I don't want to go this alone. This will take a lot of research and data gathering and comparing to how other cities who do it well have done it. And it'll be a group effort if we decide to embark on this. I just want to make sure I've got some other people in the boat rowing with me. I don't want to go it alone and do something that the board's not supportive of and frankly not willing to work on. So that, to me, those are factors that matter. Because we can raise it and punt to council.
It's also
We
not
believe
helpful
this
to
should be
council
discussed.
if
We
we just
recommend you
say,
discuss
here's
it.
a problem, good luck fixing it. They want us to give recommendations.
I think so, but we can check the temperature on that with Brian and perhaps others before we would engage in making a recommendation. So I'm not suggesting that we take a vote here today and recommend any course of action to council. Rather, what I want to do is just talk to my colleagues and figure out, does anybody else have an interest in this? Apparently, there is more interest. The second follow-up question is, those who are interested, are you willing to help? And if the answer to both of those is yes, then I think we do some temperature checking and see if this is something that council has interest in us dedicating time to.
If they had interest in the residential component, I don't see how they wouldn't have interest in extending it out to commercial.
There's so much I don't know about the climate and the other issues that are on the agenda. Timing matters too. So
That's true, yeah.
council could certainly tell us, we love this idea. Please don't bring it up before we get through what we need to get through on the hotel development. They may say, please don't do it before that,
Mhm.
because that may be a fight in and of itself that is going to take a lot of energy and political capital, and then not want to use it on this battle in the moment. That doesn't mean it won't happen, but I'm sensitive to, there could be timing issues. It all makes sense. I think we can all look at it and say, this makes sense to learn more about for our community. But I think council needs to tell us, yes, the time is appropriate.
Do you have something to add?
There's also other, I like the zero escape. And I work in wastewater, water. So you guys would also need to talk to the water distribution department, call Mike Van Winkle, Tim Sanford,
Mhm.
regarding these things. With zero escaping, it would be especially Kathy, because she's stormwater and whatever her title is, stormwater.
Yep.
But one thing, especially if you're gonna put a hotel in here, I highly suggest you put the Austin, what they've done with their high rises. Because they basically put, like mini wastewater treatment plants there, and they recycle their water daily.
Mhm.
And so it goes, like you flush your toilet, it goes through, and it goes back into your toilet, right? You don't drink it,
Mhm.
but they're reusing their water constantly.
Right.
And that's something you should look at here, especially if you have the idea of putting.
I'm going to bring you on board to my little committee of when we review the proposals. You just earned yourself a spot. Thank you. He's like,
Sounds like another meeting every week for you.
Nobody knows what I do. I'm drinking water out of the fire hydrant, learning what I do.
yeah. Did anyone else have anything else to add? I will have some of those conversations with Brian and see if, and do you remember the last time we went, when council directed the board to review the hotel occupancy tax, it was kind of done officially in a meeting. So we'll see if we need to go that route or if it's something we can just take up on our own and the timing and. Yeah.
Than us stepping outside that process and suggesting something formally that they have to include in their process, whether they want to or not.
Yep. Okay.
So I'm grateful to everyone for your positive comments on this topic. I do think it's something that if we choose to, we can make an impact. Just to see if council feels the same way.
Okay. Thanks, Eddie. Any other updates from you, business-wise?
My personal business, we are coming up for air after really fantastic holiday shopping kickoff with Black Friday and Cyber Monday. So of course I can't speak for every business, but I'll be forklifting and packing and doing all the glamorous things that, that you dream about in my business because we're thousands of orders in hold. So
That is
I
good
don't
to
know
hear.
what's going on with the economy, but this is a great holiday season kickoff so far, the best we've ever had. So hopefully
Wow.
all the other
Oh, that's
businesses
good.
in Kyle feel similar results, but the American consumer continues to amaze me. Despite question marks and tariffs and everything else, people are still out there making sure there's stuff under the tree. So
Yeah.
hopefully we'll hear similar things from our neighbors who rely on consumers for their business.
Thank you for sharing. Julie, any happening?
My sales are down, but that's because of the ice cream industry. That's the way it is. Just excited about some of the things coming. I saw that plans for the hotel. I really like where things are going. You know, I have to stay active on Facebook, so I get to see everybody just going crazy. But I don't know how you do it. How do you tune that out? Like, you know, just I know you see it, but
Yeah.
you still come
You
behind.
just don't look at
It's tough not to look at it, but you have to.
Yeah, no.
You have to know that what you're doing is the right direction that you're going in. Do you all do hot chocolate, or do you pivot your offerings in the
Yeah.
winter, or?
Not really. We try different things, but people ultimately still come in for frozen stuff,
Mhm.
which doesn't go bad. So
Yeah.
yeah, you know, just make it and just wait for them to show up.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So no, it's just a normal flow of the season. It's
Yeah,
just,
that's the way
year
it
in, year
goes.
out. We already know.
What year are you in your business now?
That
When did you open?
we opened in 2017. This location we opened 4.5 years ago.
During COVID, right? Like,
Right.
oh
Yeah.
no.
They gave us all right, it's all done. Give you keys, congratulations. And like 3 days later, Trump said, all right, shut it all down. Like what?
Oh,
Didn't
man.
expect the time. But
Yeah.
yeah, we had a lot of support.
Backdoor sales.
Yeah.
I remember. Yeah.
Kept
Yeah.
talking.
Drive by, pick up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. It was a challenge
You
and
could
we
live the
got through
challenge.
it. So
Yeah.
still here. Yeah.
Do you have any updates? No? Is there any-
I'll echo what Eddie said. A lot of my retail clients had blown out of the water holiday seasons. And another thing that I'm kind of, being new to the board, wanted to talk about or bring up was outreach. I have a couple of clients in Austin that aren't happy with their space and looking for new locations, but they're kind of niche businesses and they just don't know what's out there.
Yeah.
So
Office are they looking
outreach.
for office?
Lab
or-
space.
Oh,
Lab space is
yeah.
an example. And
Mhm.
these are clients that want to be somewhere for 10, 20 years. And I'm saying look at Kyle, but really, how do we outreach and reach out to these niche businesses
Yeah.
that could really bring in?
Yeah. Well, I think it could start with a conversation with myself, and if you want to make the introduction to them. But we also, we had a conversation even with Mike and his team about our target markets and what we're looking at recruiting based on our talent that's here and where they're going to work. So I'm sure some of these people live here in Kyle or even in Budo or San Marcos and then travel into Austin. So
Yeah.
our goal is to try to recruit some of those businesses to come here so that our residents don't have to leave every morning and go to work. So yeah, I think it's a great conversation to have. And it could start with just an introduction to some of those that are looking. I know a former board chair introduced us to Eddie, and that's how he is here, right? Well, Brian? Yeah. So, and it,
Missing the meeting when the election was held.
yeah. Yeah, but so I think that our board members could also be, great resources and an extension of our recruitment efforts, because you intimately know what we do, what we're looking for, and who to send them to, me, Lauren, or Susan. So yeah, we'd love to talk with them.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Victoria, is the site where we used it all the time, where you're updating what's available in the city, is that still being updated?
Yes.
Okay.
Susan
That's
takes
a
care.
really good resource.
Okay.
On the Economic
Available
Development
properties.
website, there had sites available. Yeah, it's
Mhm.
very helpful.
There is a
But-
new development that is coming that is going to focus on industrial space, but smaller spaces. So think 6,000 to 10,000 square foot warehouses, which may or may not be appropriate for the type of customer you're looking for. But there's substantial inventory in really large properties available in between Kyle and Buda. There's not a lot of those smaller suites for companies that need an industrial space but can't occupy 100,000 square feet. So there's a project coming on that.
The one over by your place that HPI is doing? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Mhm.
So the
Yeah,
plan for that is to have smaller suites available. Not necessarily a retail front, but people who just need a rectangle that they can get out how they need to for their business. So there's not a lot of that right now, but there's more coming. 10 to 15 spaces is my guess.
I was gonna say, sometimes we need help hearing about things like this. So if y'all do hear of things and you're not sure that we know about them, they're being developed, so
Mhm.
we can.
And then as a matter of fact, on that website our website that Julie mentioned, there is a building like Eddie's describing on there now that I believe is under construction. Right. And so that may be a good fit.
My first question is, have you talked to Kyle Economic Development, Lauren, Susan, or Victoria? And if they haven't, it's the first thing to do. They know so much of what's happening and what's new.
Thank you. Thanks for looking at it. Okay, Julie, any updates?
A
What's
couple
going on?
updates. First, I invite each of you. I don't know that any of you can come because I think tomorrow is the economic development. We're having a dinner meeting.
Oh,
dinner.
yeah.
So tomorrow is a Kyle Chambers holiday social at Arden at Kohler's Crossing. If you would like to come afterwards, I don't know what your dinner plans are, but we are also. It's going to be a rager. Yes, I'm sure. I'm sorry to miss it, but it's our annual holiday social. Those of you that would like to contribute, the chamber, rather than adopting a family this year, we are helping Hayes CISD in the nutritional program. As of now, there's about $17,000 of outstanding balances for students to get lunch. So we have taken up an initiative to collect some funds, and every penny of that will go to pay off some students' outstanding balances so they can have a nice warm meal each day.
You're taking like cash donations that year?
So we have
or
a
is
link
there
on the
link?
website that you can go through. We sent an email to everybody and I can forward that, or you can call our office and we can take it by phone. Yeah, even though there is free lunch program, there are students that are not on that program that still have an outstanding balance. Sometimes they're paid off in May because seniors cannot graduate if they have an outstanding balance, even if it's $1. So sometimes people will call and just say, I want to pay all of the seniors, and it's, $500 and they get to graduate. So that's what we're doing. We're collecting unwrapped gifts as well at the after hours. If you want to stop by the chamber office, we're collecting them until December 15th. Couple other things chamber-wise, the Kyle Chamber Board of Directors had their strategic planning program, and I'm very happy to report, which this can be a really good discussion with us. We are moving forward with our leadership program. We were originally going to launch this in September of 2020, and now we're going for 2025. So the planning is in place. This is an 8-month leadership program, very common for chambers of commerce to go through. It is, it can range anywhere from 15 to 45, depending on the chamber and the size and the community. It is a monthly full-day program where you learn about your community. Some of it is government related and then other areas. So it's a professional development program. And I don't know what the timing is on your leadership conference, but it might be something that we could pull those graduates in. And then as that works is once you have a graduating class, you create an alumni group that helps you then plan each class each year. So that's in the pipeline. In addition, Women in Business or Women in Leadership program as well. So we'll be putting that together, and we're looking for volunteers that are members of the chamber that can serve on those groups. And that's pretty much the meat of the planning session. We have a new board and I'm very excited about it. And that's it.
That's great. Thanks, Julie.
What are the hours of your social tomorrow?
5:30 to 7:30.
Okay. Any updates?
I didn't come to last meeting, but the meeting before, I was at the W. I helped them open a coffee shop. But recently I left the W once they opened and everything. And I'm with a company called Nectarine. I'm their experience director. So it's in Dripping Springs. It's grill, bakehouse, cafe, kitchen. And then in April, we're opening a creamery. Hopefully they're far enough away to where it won't affect you. But I'm really excited to work with them. They're completely organic, gluten-free, really health-centric and health-focused. But yeah, we open around December 17th. So the next 2 weeks are pretty busy for me, training a whole staff, but that's about it.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah. Mike?
So no longer the Greater San Marcos Partnership, we're the Hayes Caldwell Economic Development Partnership. So hopefully that's a little more welcoming in places like Kyle, is our hope. So that's brand basically out and done. So we're excited to have that behind us. We'll be starting our strategic planning process in the spring. So Victoria and her team will be very involved in that. Beyond that, we're going to have an economic outlook event on January 9th at Texas State. Since we don't have an event center here yet, I was just telling Victoria we need that yesterday, and Kyle, please.
Yep.
Because the Embassy Suite is going to be basically down for a year. So it would be at Texas State. We have somebody from the Federal Reserve speaking about this upcoming year's economy as best they can. And then we're putting together a panel with Texas EDC, Texas Association of Manufacturing, and Texas Association of Business to talk about the upcoming legislative session and public priorities during session. So our lunch thing at Texas State on January 9th. So that's what we're.
It's during lunch. Okay. Usually for those of you that are interested, we try to get a table at the event and then we'll welcome board members to sit with us if you'd like. So are the tickets on sale yet? Does Mark set something out?
Yeah, you can
Probably.
call
Huh?
Lance. Yeah.
Okay. I'll check on that. Thank you. Henry, you have an update?
Oh, I got nothing. I feel like a slack.
Okay, it's okay. And then Susan, and we went on the table. Okay. Oh, Cassidy. Okay. It's fine. I just wanted to make
Good
sure.
morning. Sorry. Sorry, I don't have any updates. Good to see everybody.
Okay, thank you. All right, Eddie.
Turn the floor over to discuss the Grease Intercept Grant Program.
We should. Yes.
Because you made all the adjustments to it originally voted.
Well, I think that as we discussed last week, last month, Devin and Lauren are working together on a Grease Interceptor grant policy and program. And so we have a draft in front of you of what the policy could look like. Some of red line comments that Lauren and I put together. But we just wanted to see if you had a moment to look at it, offer any suggestions. So this is for existing food established businesses that do not meet the requirements for their grease traps. And if they need to upgrade them, there's a cost. Maybe estimate about 10,000 or so, depending, right? Yeah, on the level that they need the upgrade to. And so we are interested in, so it's not such a burden on small businesses, offering a 50% reimbursement up to $5,000 for each business. And then there's a cap. We have $50,000 in a bucket to use. So if we could have 10 businesses apply, then we could help them. Also, I think I made a note, and Lauren and I talked, if there is a business that can demonstrate that the full amount, is detrimental to their business, or they just can't come up with the money, we could look at other creative ways of helping them on the back end. So we don't want this to be a burden, a big burden on any business. But we understand the importance of it, and so we want everyone to come into compliance. Did I miss something? Did you want to add? Else, Devin or Lauren?
Just looking at the changes, I wouldn't write. The reason I wrote not affiliated with any franchise or corporation is because a Whataburger or a McDonald's or the Dairy Queen has been here since before then. And so they could technically still apply for this grant if we go that way.
Yep.
I would rather have this for like, no, you don't need it. Or like
Phew.
Texas Pie Company or Pisces,
Mhm.
something of that nature. I wouldn't want McDonald's coming in and going, oh, free money when they're affiliated with a corporation.
Yeah.
I'd
we
rather
were-
have this for somebody who's been in the city of Kyle and is a local business. Now, we might remove the word franchise, because if a business has multiple locations, aren't they technically a franchise? I don't know. I'm way out of my wheelhouse.
Depends on who owns it. So
Okay.
like
Yeah.
Summer Moon's got 62, but only 40 are franchises. The one share
Yeah,
will
we
be
can
corporate.
remove that, but we could write it in. I don't like the.
Yeah.
the-
Well, we were just kind of brainstorming on how
Yeah.
could we capture the older businesses that have been here that would truly need it versus the newer ones that we know are probably already
The
up
newer
to.
ones are already in compliance.
Yeah, maybe we removed the
Everything
date,
I've
but
seen from like 2015 or 2013 almost is basically gonna be in.
Yep.
And
Maybe there's a way to do the prioritization of awards rather than a requirement for the program.
okay.
Council has indicated before a preference for tremendous flexibility in how they apply awards.
Mhm.
So I think it could be written into the description of the award that there's a preference for longstanding businesses or, individual proprietors or however it needs to be phrased that might stay away from some of the legal concerns.
Yep.
That corporation and franchise may bring into play.
Okay.
But I think the sentiment is the right one.
Mhm.
McDonald's can afford to bring their restaurants into compliance, and I think they build them that way anyway.
they do.
Yeah.
So I don't want to see that money go to people who don't need the help.
And the idea is for the applicants to apply and then for our department to be able to review them along with Devin's department.
Can I ask why that is?
Instead of going to council, you mean, or?
Or why is it not just reside with the water and wastewater department?
Oh, because we have the funding in our department. And that's,
But it's same question. I mean, this isn't, in my opinion, economic development.
yeah, I think it's just because we had the connection. Devin came to us because we had the connection
To
with the local businesses.
Sure, I get
Yeah.
that, I get that, but
Mhm.
staff time, a lot of staff time potentially reviewing these,
Mhm.
and there is no job creation, there's no taxes or anything that would come to this other than helping the water system, which is worth it.
Yeah.
So that was just my one question is, why is economic development, besides the connection to business, even involved in
Stepping
this?
in. Yeah. I don't know. We just decided to collaborate. That's a good point, though. I mean, it has taken quite a bit of time,
I
but
also think
Devin is also a one-man show that we try to also
Sure.
help departments,
this
and yeah, and mainly because of the connection that Lauren has built with businesses, and we wanted to
Sure.
kind of make sure that we handhold them.
And Mike, I
through
think there's a
this.
competence that's been developed within the city of evaluating businesses for incentives that some of the other departments maybe don't go through on a regular basis.
Totally get that too.
That there could be kind of a center of excellence approach toward why certain things may land here if it's evaluating businesses and should they get incentives from the city. That's something that I think under the auspices of economic development, for right or for better or for worse. There's a history of that here that could have impacted the decision. I wasn't in the room when it was made.
Right. There's three of them. And so I just want to be very,
Well, and
Yeah.
I think
Cognizant
I've
of
done a
your
lot of work
time.
with this, and it has taken quite a bit of time.
Yeah.
But also, at the end of everything I do with this, I have to go back to Devin and make sure I don't know anything about this program.
There's one.
right.
Yeah.
So I do like what you're saying, but and we love to be involved and help in any way we can, especially when it involves businesses. But I completely understand.
And,
what you're saying,
um,
Mike.
And it says, I mean, full discretion to the economic development department. So it is your program.
Yeah, it is. And I think though, this is not going to be an ongoing program, I'd imagine, right? Once we get
No.
this group into compliance, because it's a limited group,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, and moving forward, you make sure they do it right. I get
Yeah,
that. So
yeah.
I just
I
want
think
to,
just initially.
I
this
missed
time-
last month, so that's why I was just.
Well, we
curious.
didn't talk, we didn't, yeah.
All right.
The other cities that we're, if this goes through in council, we'd be the first city in Texas to even have this.
Yeah, it's great.
The other places I've found it have been in Florida, Virginia, and in big towns, Colorado.
Whatever works. So I mean, I'm in favor of the program. I just wanted, there's three of you.
Yeah,
I just. wanna
yeah,
make sure
probably
y'all-
because there's one of Devin.
Yeah.
And
I could still
We
do
all-
it.
yeah, I think
I
it'll be,
originally wrote it for me or somebody in I know Lauren's job title is business extension.
Yeah, I mean, if you have two of these next year, I mean, I guess it's not a huge thing. But it's
Yeah.
just-
I think also we were kind of just pulled into this and it, because Devin went out and visited one of our local manufacturers and they really didn't understand why he was there, or they just were concerned, and then they got us involved. They were like, what did we do wrong? Why are they coming
Sure.
out to, and so then that triggered Lauren and I's emotions to be like, okay, we got to help because we don't want this to concern businesses. We
Right.
want them, since we're the face of, we feel like we're the face of for local businesses, that we could probably handle the programs.
Sure.
So
Other recommendations here is there's an option between bring up to date or code compliant throughout the document. I would recommend keeping it code compliant. That way, if the code changes, you don't have conflicting priorities between what the code says and what the incentive program is.
And I put that there because, and I just had this conversation with Devin. If you read through there at the very beginning, it's talking about installing a brand new system, which that's one cost versus bringing one up to date. That's a whole different cost. I think we need to clarify what it is this program's doing. That's why I put that in there. And that's why that is listed like that, because I wanted to make sure I'm understanding correctly. So that's
Yeah,
I was talking with
the only
Devin
reason
about.
I wrote it that way is from the examples that we had, the other cities that have done this have only given this award to places that did not have a grease interceptor at all. Because
And-
that's more costly. 'Cause
Right.
It's easier to manage an older one, than it is to install a brand new one where there's never been.
So that's what I was wondering, is this program to install a new one only, or are we
That was
gonna
the
also,
idea.
okay. So that's something, we need to look at as well. And that's why I put that there. We take out, bring up to date, are we only,
In my opinion, it should only be the install.
if they don't have one?
Yes, ma'am.
But if they have one and it's not in compliance, they have to be code compliant.
Right.
Yes.
So then that's all their
So-
cost.
Well, they don't have to be if they're grandfathered, but if they're gonna do something.
But they also have to meet the effluent limits of what they're releasing into the collection system. So you could have an older grease interceptor, you just might have to get it pumped out more often.
But we're incentivizing with this program, installing something new. We're not addressing those that have been grandfathered in or otherwise costly. Is that an accurate interpretation?
And code compliance is the right way to make sure it's always up to date.
yeah,
I would also note that at the last sentence of the scope, first come, first serve basis, that does seem to contradict if we're prioritizing, Eddie, to your point, those that are older or otherwise the priorities of the city. That terminology may not be what we want to have in the final draft.
okay. I think what we were trying to say is that there's a limited amount of money. It's 50,000 is the max that we can grant out in 1 year, and that's it. So, but I mean, it's stated right there.
I think the 50,000 is sufficient by
Yeah.
itself.
Okay, and I wrote that preference to longstanding businesses, prioritize longstanding businesses. Again, we don't anticipate that this would be a large amount of businesses, maybe 5 to 10 is probably, yeah. Okay, and then of course we have to have our legal department add in some legal language in here to cover ourselves, but in this, economic development has a full discretion to approve or deny. I think, Mike, that was more saying we don't need to take it to council. It'll stay at staff level. So I don't, we can massage that
Yeah, it's not a lot
language.
of money.
You got the feedback you needed?
Mhm. Yeah. Anybody else have anything to add? Other than
Anybody have
you?
a question for Steve, especially anybody that owns a restaurant or manufacturing industry?
Eddie, got any fog in your?
Not yet.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you all for the feedback. This will be going to council in sometime in January, correct? Okay. Thank you all. I don't think we'll bring it back. We'll just make the changes that the board suggested and then just let council know that the board has reviewed it and is in support of the program. Okay. Last thing, I know we're trying to keep it to, about 9:15 or so. So, for the leadership conference. Yes, thank you. The next topic is the leadership conference. So this is a little different than what Julie was talking about because this is what we're looking at is a one-day event. I'm really intrigued about your leadership program because I've been researching some, and I did notice that there are some that are longer programs. We'd like to just do a quick, short one-day conference. Now, as part of the Kickstart program to help small businesses or all businesses in Kyle that council adopted a few months ago, and also with our strategic plan, one of our goals was to host a leadership conference. And Lauren and I went to one last year up in Burleson, and it's a really cool event that had motivational speakers, and I mean, really, like it changed our lives. Like I feel like it did. Just being there and listening into the speakers that they had, and it was almost an all-day event. There was about 4, 5, or 6 different speakers, and then we look forward to attending this coming February as well. Which I think we have a couple of seats left on our table. If anyone would like to go with us for the one-day event, maybe it'll be good research and exploration for your program too. But I'd like to kick this off by asking the board if they would like to help do some research and identify some notable speakers that could come to our event. Now, the speakers that of this quality, this level and this quality, they're pretty high dollar speakers, and then they require you flying them here, getting them here somehow, housing them, feeding them. So we do have money in our budget set aside for this program, but also we know that we could get sponsors from our local sponsors that could sponsor a speaker as well. We envision this maybe being held at a venue like Texas Old Town. It'll be almost a full day event. But again, it's meant for the business community, for local leaders. We saw utility departments there. I know that there are different organizations that host these throughout the United States. So if we could get your assistance in making suggestions, researching some, you probably have done a lot of research just from your program. But for a one-day event, we could even think about starting small and maybe partnering with the chamber and bringing in a speaker for maybe a chamber luncheon or hosting a luncheon, and maybe starting off small and then growing the program. Has anyone here been to a leadership conference or been part of a program? You?
Mhm.
Yeah. Which ones have you attended?
The
Or
last one was at Texas State. They
Okay.
did one, brought in like 2 or 3 Harvard school people and some other speakers. It was interesting.
yeah. Did it change your life?
It did not change my life. It was.
This
That's
has changed our life.
That's a bit strong,
No, really,
but it was.
did.
It was
really
good.
did.
It
Yeah.
was really good.
Yeah, the message that these speakers had for us was just like, I don't know, it was a really cool event. And this one was more, the one we went to, we just kind of sat in the audience and listened in. But I know that there could be others that are interactive where you break out into different sessions. We're open to everything. It's just, right now we're just exploring. Susan, did you print these out for everybody or just my notes? Okay. We can make copies, yeah. So, yeah, this one is helpful because this is kind of what we're asking for the board if for the next meeting, or even between now and then, if you could research other leadership conferences, identify speakers from other notable conferences, maybe evaluate their speeches, their message, and see if it aligns with what we're looking for in Kyle, that I think that align with our strategic plan, and so if you want to provide recommendations, and those can just kind of flow into us throughout the next month. I know the holidays are coming up, so if this is something that bleeds over into the first quarter of next year, it's not something that we have a set date for, but I'd like to just start researching it and figuring out if this is something that, again, maybe we start small and do something with the chamber and then grow the event.
What are you looking for presentation wise? Or if you're focusing on kickstarting, that means very small new businesses that might need presentations focused on building your business or building your brand, or is it motivational, rah, you can do it?
I think
what are
it's
you
more
looking
like
for?
the motivational, a little bit more higher level, not granular down to your local business, because it's also could be for government leaders, even our county partners. We had, again, like it could be for the utility, our utility partners, and then also local businesses.
So more personal, professional growth rather than business focused.
Yeah.
It's more, this focus on me and my learning and my professional development.
Yes.
And I'm going to walk out of here
with your life
feeling
changed.
good.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, really, it was a fun event and we enjoyed it. So these are some suggestions that Susan has put together for us. Ways that you could research. So the top three things are kind of what we're looking for. And Susan, I was mentioning that this doesn't have to wait until next month to come back. This information can be flowing into us. We'll have a folder that we would compile all the information on. And then again, there's no real set date on this. I think we set ourselves a goal of maybe doing something smaller by the end of the third or fourth quarter of this year. But if it needs to, we'll just evolve it as we go along. Besides Mike, has anyone else attended a leadership conference? You have?
I actually haven't had speakers from.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, so when I went to Texas State University, I had to take this class called entrepreneurship, and it was in the McCoy College of Business,
Mhm.
and it was taught by Dr. Aspid. And every 2 weeks, he had some speaker that owned a huge franchise corporation, any business, to come and talk to all of the students. He got the person that created Planet Fitness.
Mhm.
He got this lady, I forgot, she created this huge brand, and she was on like, and
Yeah.
other people, and he's really focused on doing that for Texas State University. So I highly suggest you talk to
Okay. Yeah. What was his name?
Dr. Daspit. I can probably
Yeah, I will.
walk
We
to
can
his
talk
office
off.
right now. Yeah.
Okay. Very well. And I want to not duplicate also what others are doing, and we want to focus it in on local leaders and Kyle, and so see how that goes. Anyone else attended any
The
leadership
Texas
conferences?
Women's Conference, it's huge. It's in
Mhm.
Austin every year.
Mhm.
Massive, 10, 20,000 people. It's all women,
Uh-huh.
vendors, breakout sessions, keynotes, during breakfast and lunch and afternoon. But if you take a look at their lineup, they're mostly local,
Mhm.
not always. I mean, who was, Louis Dreyfus, she was here last time. And then there's a couple local women that were doing the big event on Saturday. It's always in January. I'll send you their information.
Okay.
But yeah, they're
Mhm.
lots of good options. Texas States can have be a really good resource for speakers.
Yeah. Okay.
Super good. And UT, probably pull people down from UT that are
I
good
think the,
speakers.
I mean, I think you do need to start small, but there's no reason they should have a Kyle lean, have Kyle leaders as well, but there's no reason why people in the whole corridor or in the triangle shouldn't be wanting to come to this.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, let's just kind of see where the exploration goes, and we'll kind of keep this on our as a standing topic over the next couple of meetings and see how it evolves, and then we can kind of go along as as we get more information from you. Does anyone have any questions? I think that's all I have. Eddie, I'll touch base again with Ryan on the other topic that we talked about. Yeah, so, and then I'll report back. I think, yeah, that's it.
All right. We have a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
You have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? All right, we are adjourned. Thanks for your time today, everyone. And,
Happy
I'm
holidays.
sure staff would love me to say, if you haven't RSVP'd for tomorrow, please do so. Otherwise, I get all your extras.
That's right. Okay, thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. It's at 6, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, I need to find it. They deleted my whole